Here's how I managed to sharpen my focus because I was the worst at being focused in school. Um, for long anyway. I would skip my class because he didn't care if you went to the class or not. Go to the library, but I still had the discipline. I would pretend like I was going to the class to get myself in the mindset that I need to go to class, because that's a healthy thing to go regularly. Um, but instead, I would go to the library and then I would sit down at the library and I would turn off my phone. At first, I used to use the tomato timer. I don't know if you know about the Pomodoro technique.
I have heard of it.
So using it, first of all, the Pomodoro technique is extremely effective. I use it at work and to be more focused. When you have that time crunch, you focus on your whatever you need for 25 minutes, then you take a break for 5 minutes. That's why I like to have a little app on my phone, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Link, so I could duel people online and then do a quick duel and then come back to my thing. But even within this, there's another thing. There's another technique I learned called via from an email. It says, how do you avoid getting into distractions even if you're trying to focus that 25 minutes? What if this isn't enough? Usually it is to say, oh, I only have 25 minutes to get through this thing. Let me hurry up, get through this section of the book in 25 minutes. What I like to do is I say no to the first distraction. All you have to do is say no to the first distraction, and you'll never veer off into more distractions. Just say no to the first one or tell it to wait. If you tell the first distraction to wait, you'll do the 25 minutes. You'll get locked into the time in the 25 minutes. But eventually, I graduated from the Pomodoro technique. All I simply did was turned off my phone so nobody could reach me. And I would naturally work through the book, the section of the book, until I started feeling bored or until I got a major concept or principle, like how to do, no, until I learned a certain technique from the chapter in the book. And once I built and I take notes, I wouldn't take notes I would do maybe a mind map while I'm reading, but not really. I would form the mind map in my mind. And then I would, if I feel like I'm putting too much information in my mind, I would do a mind dump and then draw the mind map, then do the mind map on the paper. Having to regenerate it from memory then forces me to recall the information I was storing in my mind. This is all within one paragraph because they like to put a bunch of concepts into the initial paragraphs for a chapter. Um, and then I would dump the information from my brain into the mind map, forcing me to recall the information that I just put in my brain. So immediate feedback, which is another principle of ultra learning. But anyway, I'm doing micro step feedback, and then that mind map goes into the paper in my notes. Inevitably, I forget a certain couple of things, so I look into the chapter, into the thing I just read. I put it in the mind map. I see how I look and see how they might be connected, in my brain. If it takes too long to write down the connections, I just think of it and then I move on. I don't want to spend too much time on that. My milestone is the technique. The technique, I learned the technique first, the concept of the technique, why the technique works in words, in thinking concept, not the numbers or the equation. It's the thinking. Why does this work?